Minister Jordan, thank you for joining me. Why did you decide that fish farms should close around the Discovery Islands in BC?
So one of the things we heard was that First Nations in the Discovery Islands, the 7 First Nations there, really wanted to have a say in the decision. So we spent the last few months doing consultations with those First Nations, and we heard overwhelmingly that they wanted to have those fish farms removed from the area. So that is the decision we're making today, that there will be phasing out of those fish farms with no intent to renew licenses in the future.
So how many farms are we talking about exactly?
So currently there is 19 sites in the Discovery Islands. 9 of those sites are fallow. There's no fish in them, and 10 of them have almost 3 million fish altogether in those areas. But what the decision is today is that there will be no new fish added into those sites. The fish that are in there are going to be allowed to grow out to a certain size where they can be harvested, and then no new fish will go into the pens once those fish have been harvested. This is, something that we want to make sure that nobody wants to cull 3 million fish. We want to do this in an orderly way, in a fair way. It's going to be a difficult transition, so we want to make sure that we do it right. And we will see the majority of the fish will be out of the farms by April of 2021.
So if these fish farms are bad for wild salmon, why let them continue operations?
We're actually making this decision based on what we heard from First Nations communities. This was about making sure that the consultation process was followed. We had a process that we followed very closely to make sure that First Nations opinions and desires were taken into account as we made that decision. With regards to fish farms in BC and coastal waters, I have a mandate to transition fish farms by 2025. That is a bigger conversation. It's a lot more that has to be done in order to do that. The Discovery Islands is a unique case, a unique situation, and that's what we're dealing with today. This was a very difficult decision because, there are a number of people who will be impacted by this decision. This is going to impact our coastal communities. Aquaculture plays an important economic role in British Columbia, and we want to make sure we move forward with the industry in order to make sure that we have, be global leaders in sustainable aquaculture in the future.
So what will be done for the workers at these plants to transition to other work?
So right now, we're going to be in conversations with the industry over the next weeks and months to determine what the best path forward is. Of course, we want this transition to be fair, to be open. We're going to continue to have those conversations to see how we can best make sure that we're addressing concerns that we're hearing as we go forward with the removal. But as I said, this was not an easy decision. Because these are people whose livelihoods are working in those farms. But we also know that First Nations wanted those farms removed from that area, and that is what we are focusing on now.
And ultimately, how long will all of this take?
So the majority of the fish will be out of the area by April of 2021. We'll see close to 80% or up to 80% removed by that time. Some of the fish need a little bit longer to grow. Some will be removed in October of 2021, and then the rest will be removed in early 2022. This actually aligns well with the British Columbia plan to transition farms to make sure that First Nations are consulted by June of 2022. This aligns with their plans as well.
All right, Minister Jordan, thank you. That is DFO Minister Bernadette Jordan joining us from Nova Scotia.
Thanks so much for having me.